Please excuse if you can hear the drilling. It's just literally non-stop, and I had today down to do some videos, and despite closing my windows, it's still very loud. But anyway, so this is La Femme by Prada, which my camera for some reason doesn't want to focus on. There we go. I got this one. I saw someone talking about it, saying it was kind of soapy, but like a boss lady smell. And I thought, well, that'll be interesting. Let's smell that. And this is the La Femme Prada Eau de Parfum. And it's a bit of a beast, as you can imagine. Now, they've got 3 different versions of La Femme, and they all have a different coloured back. So I'm talking about the one with the white back, as you can see here. And I smelt this and I was like, what can I smell? What can I smell? As you can see here, frangipani, ylang ylang, spicy notes, beeswax, vanilla, tuberose, vetiver, solar sensual, dewy memory of a faraway flower. I would never describe this as dewy. It's quite strong. And so the specific notes on Fragrantica are listed as top notes of magnolia, bergamot, carrot seeds, middle notes, frangipani, tuberose, ylang ylang, iris and spices, base notes, beeswax, vanilla and vetiver. Now, straight up, this is an amazing perfume. It is a boss lady perfume. This is absolutely a kind of high up, sophisticated lady smell. However, I smelt this and I was like, what's this reminding me of? It reminds me of something. And then when I put it on my skin and it kind of bloomed a little bit, got very intense. And I was like, this smells like Poeme. Or specifically, it smells like the middle notes of Poeme. It smells like... So when I first spray, I don't know if I have a video about Poeme. It's one of my first things I talked about because it's been discontinued. It's a Lancôme fragrance. It's from the... I think it's from the late 90s. Yeah, and it is just... It's one of the most beautiful, strong, yellow, floral, sweet, gorgeous perfumes I've ever smelled. But it is beastly. It's strong. It lasts for ages. And it's so pretty. Everyone around you will smell that perfume, but they'll probably think you smell spectacular. But it's very strong. You've got to be careful with it. Lancôme Poeme is magical. But there's when you first spray it, it smells like a fantastic bouquet of flowers. It starts to dry down, to me, to smell a bit jasmine-y and floral in a way that I find slightly uncomfortable. And then in not too long, it becomes a kind of beautiful yellow flowers and like custardy vanilla smell. It has a real custardy smell in it that I think is just spectacular. Now, La Femme smells like a dupe of Poeme. So in that respect, it's a fabulous perfume because Poeme is a fabulous perfume. However, I do think that actually it smells very specifically like that middle section of Poeme. So it has that kind of smell that is the bit of Poeme that I'm not quite as keen on. So I would never want to buy this perfume because I already have Poeme. I think it's absolutely spectacular. And if it's still available, it's cheaper than this one, despite the fact it's been discontinued. So I think you can get like a 30ml of that for £30. So I think La Femme by Prada is actually more expensive, and it's definitely not as good. It's just not as good, unless of course what you like about Poeme is the middle notes and you don't like that slightly custardy smell in the dry down. But that's the bit about Poeme that I absolutely love, and it's just so delicious. It's and I think that it really shares the tuberose in here as well. But I'd say, like, because Poeme's been discontinued, if you can't, like, at some point you're not going to be able to get Poeme anymore. It will sell out, or it will become astronomically expensive when there's like only a couple of bottles left in the country or whatever. You might want to have a look at this one if you've got your eye on Poeme, but you can't buy it, because I might consider this one. Maybe I might consider it if I didn't have Poeme. If I wanted a real boss lady, beautiful kind of yellowy floral smell, like a sweet yellow floral. because it definitely it does vibe with me in that respect. It's just not as quite as comfortable on my skin because I absolutely love the dry down of Poeme, and this is like Poeme without the dry down. This is like, yeah, the top and mid notes of Poeme, but it's an impressive perfume, this one. And if you were ever going to find something, especially, I mean, this is certainly for me an evening perfume, but if you wanted to wear it, it's a very clean smelling, beautiful, floral, kind of waxy, and it is waxy because of the beeswax. And weirdly, I find Poeme quite waxy. It doesn't have honey in it, but there's something about it that's a little bit waxy, but it's got so many notes in it compared to this one. Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually a beautiful perfume, and I would happily recommend it, but I would recommend Poeme over this. And this, you know, I wrote a review on Fragrantica, and I said what I do feel, which is that I think there's a lot of 90s perfumes, which are some of the greatest perfumes ever made. They don't get very much love, and some of them are discontinued, some of them are still going, but that are relatively cheap, and people don't really know about them, especially things like Noah, you know, by Cacharel. And I always say, like, if you put this in a Tom Ford bottle and you sold it under a different name, it would be hyped massively. And the reason I tried this, I've seen so many YouTubers talking about this perfume, and I'm just like, well, damn, man, they should try Poeme, because it's this but better. This is a dupe of Poeme. There's no, I mean, I don't think it's accidental. I think this smells like Poeme, and I think it smells like Poeme deliberately. And Poeme is one of the greatest 90s perfumes. So I understand why you're bringing it back. But it to me is a bit of a tragedy that one's been discontinued while this one's getting hyped up by perfumers or perfume people on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? I do think it's nice, but it's definitely not as good as Poeme. So anyway, that's my little whingy old lady rant about 90s perfumes getting kind of copied and then just not and then just kind of going under the radar, while these kind of not as nice versions of them get really, really hyped up. But anyway, it's still very nice, but it's a Prada perfume, so it's expensive. So like I said, if you can get Poeme, just get Poeme.